Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Surya's Motor Tube. Episode is going to be very special. The reason because it is going to be about this manufacturing company. Let me just tell you brief history about them. This whole series is going to be cut into parts. So the first part about this car manufacturing company is the history of Lotus Motors. So basically it was founded by this gentleman called as Colin Chapman. He founded this company back in 1948. That's when it started actually. He founded this company with his wife Hazel. Basically, they rented out old stables behind a railway hotel in North London and they slowly built cars over the years. Later on, as he started experimenting on cars, they started making a lot of car parts. Initially, they slowly started with making proper kit cars and then selling kit cars. So basically, they wanted to make cars just for competitive racing. The Lotus Motors became Lotus Engineering, which was split from Lotus Racing Team back in 1952. In 1952, they started working on cars for Formula 1, professionally started racing in 1958. So ever since then till 2012, they were still racing under different various names. This is brief history on how the car was built, how the company came about. Chapman's philosophy was to simplify the cars and make it more lighter. He wanted it to be more heavily focused in simplifying and being more light. He wanted the general public also to be able to afford those kind of cars. His company sold kit cars. This helped the public to buy out cars more in affordable price. That was one of the reasons why he also made those kit cars, and he was very fond of racing, hence why the cars were made. And they started making cars at the end of 1970s, unfortunately. And the other part was some domestic cars that the Lotus made. There were quite a lot of notable ones and quite a lot of notorious cars that was built, such as my personal favorite was the Lotus Carlton, which was a sedan. Basically, it was a 4-door sedan which was notoriously famous for high speed. It was like a getaway car most of the people used for stealing cigarettes, stealing alcohol back in those days in the UK, which was over smart. It was more faster than the police cars, I would say. People used to get away with all of those stuff. The pursuit cars were slower than Lotus cars, which gained a lot of attention for Lotus Motors. Lotus Carlton car, it was beautifully designed. To this date, people love it. That is one notable car for reference. Now they have Lotus Emeya, they have those electric models, the other cars, which is beautifully well designed. They innovated a lot of stuff for the racing industry. If you take Lotus 25 or the later models, the Lotus 25 had a monocoque chassis, which was made out of carbon fiber. A lot of stuff that came out with Formula 1 are still used right now with the modern day cars. And the Lotus 25 had something like that. The Lotus 78, the Lotus 79, all of those cars had something unique. They had active suspension, which is something crazy even for that time. Nobody ever thought about it. They came out with rear and front wings, which was mounted at the rear, and at the front wings were mounted in the radiator, which helped with the downforce. The cars always stayed on the ground even with a lot of air coming in. So it's very aerodynamic, I would say. That is about the Formula 1 part. Now there are a couple of drivers who won constructive championships and driving championships. There were a lot of guys who won that. Notable references were Jim Clark and Graham Hill and Ayrton Senna. He drove the Lotus 72T and a couple of other models, which was crazy, back then. They were the first ones to have sponsorship livery, which was crazy even back then. That is about the Formula 1 part. Let me just walk you through other parts of the Lotus Motors Private Cars Limited. You might not know about this thing in Lotus Motors. So basically Lotus Motors engineering department had worked with couple of other manufacturing companies. This was behind the scenes, which was, if you could Google it also, you might find all of these stuff that I'm going to tell you. They worked in a lot of stuff that people generally don't know. They worked on the suspensions, the user interface, the user experience, the design of the car, the engine of the car, the safety system, everything, even from the minute details. They actually worked on it, especially with car manufacturing companies like the DeLorean, Back to the Future car. Lotus helped with working with that kind of car manufacturing company back then. And they also worked with other couple of brands which are speculated. One of them is our very own Indian brand, which is Mahindra & Mahindra. They say that they actually worked with the suspension of the car in terms of product like the Mahindra Scorpio. They say that they worked on the suspension, the first model I'm talking about. They said that they worked on it, but they also helped with other car manufacturing company with suspensions and a lot of other stuff. which is crazy. Even back then, the engineering behind the safety systems is quite a lot. They mainly focus on the driver focused car. None of the car manufacturing company do that right now, but these guys were doing it. The domestic cars made a huge impact on their sales. They slowly started going into bankruptcy, which was really sad. Later, it didn't get rebranded, but it was bought out by other companies. Right now, they have a couple of cars. Older cars, which most of the people like, was the Lotus Elise and Eletre and a lot more other cars, which was loved by the people all around the world. Lotus, if you watch this video, make sure you make a debut in India. I could help you out with that. So these guys, are really good with the stuff, especially with the engineering department. At least from my understanding, is off the roof, I would say. So they're really good with what they do. There are other variants. They're heavily into electric now. Make sure you check out their website and check their product. They were into everything. They help a lot of other manufacturing companies, which is crazy. Like the Lotus engineering department also worked on the other car manufacturing companies likes of Toyota, DeLorean. With the Toyota, they also worked with the Mark II Supra, which is crazy. Especially with the suspension department, they also helped with that. So that was one of the car manufacturing companies that they worked with. I hope you guys loved this video. Make sure you please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in a bit.